This global pandemic we're now experiencing is a collective, massive loss. And while we may still be obviously very optimistic and hopeful about the future and that this too will pass at some point, we still have the grief we are experiencing to contend with. As a leader of people during this time, it's important to understand what happens to us, to humans, during this period of grief and loss. In this episode, I'd like to present you with a model that outlines the stages that people go through when they're going through grief that may help you cope with the grief you're feeling a little bit better, but also may enable you to understand what is happening to people that work for you as well. In 1969, a Swiss-American psychiatrist, Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, wrote a book in which she outlined 5 stages people go through when they're experiencing grief. These stages are not linear, so not everybody goes through them at the exact same time, and they may not go through all of them. Some people may go only through 1 or 2 of them, but they do explain this emotional roller coaster that people experience when they're experiencing grief. First stage is the stage of denial. And when we experience a loss and then the resulting grief, we often deny what's occurring. And so this would look something like, this isn't happening to me. So we tell ourselves, it's not that bad, this isn't really real. During this COVID-19 crisis, we can see this denial at a magnitude level when we look at countries and societies that are saying, hey, this really didn't happen. This is not happening to us. It's just the flu, it's for older people, it won't affect me, and blah, and the like, right? So we have been seeing this in massive proportion. The second stage that we go through is the stage of anger. And anger is our way of doing something with these emotions that are arising because they're strong and they're feelings that we're not comfortable or dealing with. And what we do is we want to direct them somewhere else. And so we become angry at someone else for this happening, right? So in this crisis, for example, we see people pointing fingers. How could this country let this happen? Or it's somebody else's fault, or people are coming in, and et cetera, et cetera. So we want to blame someone. The third stage of grief is what Kubler-Ross called bargaining. And what this is when, okay, so we now are thinking, I've lost control, I need to regain control. So if I do this, then this will go away. So for example, if I only go to the supermarket, things will be fine. Or I make some sort of a trade-off. And in this example, our internal bargaining is, okay, if I stay home for 15 days, everything will be normal again and I can go back to my normal life. So that's the example of bargaining, where we're trying to give something and then gain control back. The next stage, which is the 4th stage here, is the stage of depression. Because these things don't seem to be working for us and we're not really gaining control again. When the reality of what is happening finally hits us, we experience a flood of emotion. And it can result in debilitating anxiety, sadness, and stress. In the case of what we're experiencing right now with this virus, it can look like coming to terms with what is really happening here. We start to think, I may lose my job. I may not be able to leave the house for months. I may get sick. The ones I love may get sick. And so on. And we start to catastrophize all the things that could happen. This can look different for different people, but it can cause a host of physical symptoms. It can cause extreme sadness. It can cause insomnia, distraction, and very much difficulty focusing. And the final stage, the 5th stage, is the stage of acceptance. And during this stage, we finally realize, okay, wow, the magnitude of what has happened here is real. We don't necessarily now feel happy, or we don't necessarily now feel less stressed or afraid, but we feel like we accept it and we understand that there's a new way and it's time to make the best of it. From this place, we're able to feel a little bit more hopeful about the future. even though we know that we don't really control it. In this coronavirus reality, this stage may look like the realization that, I may have to be staying at home, and this stay-at-home lifestyle is going to be my way of life for the next few months, or even longer than that. We may think of ways to normalize this new reality, put new routines together, and follow the rules and guidance we're given. The emotional impact and processing of all of these phases of grief are different for different people, and everyone has their own unique experience. How does awareness of this model help you as a leader? Two things. First of all, realize that you are experiencing grief yourself. Just understanding this model can help you empathize with yourself and acknowledge your own emotions, and that you're not immune to grief and loss. And it may help you normalize what you're feeling right now. Second of all, as a leader, understanding these human emotions and understanding that they're really high right now will allow you to be a little more empathetic with people during this time. People are all different, and they may be experiencing a range of emotions. They may be on edge, they may be more distracted, they may be more upset, and they may be more sad during this time. So what's needed from you right now? Two things. First, show understanding. Ask people how they're feeling. Provide them with reassurance. It doesn't mean that you suddenly have to become a counselor by any means. But right now, empathy and your human side goes a long way in helping people cope with this grief and loss they're experiencing. Second thing, ask people how they're doing. Ask them what they need. Spend some time connecting. And more than anything else, cut people some slack right now. At least more slack than you normally would. Yes, I know, you still have a business to run. I get it, of course. But you can still do that with a gentler tone and touch right now. Your actions and your words right now have a greater impact than you can ever imagine. So choose them carefully. How you treat people right now in their most vulnerable moments will have an impact way past this pandemic and when this pandemic ends. And this crisis will end. This is a leadership moment. Will you meet it? Thanks for watching.